Hey guys, welcome back. Thank you. Hopefully you watched part one. It's up here, popping up if you need to see that. But we are back talking about guns and God, and how the two coincide with one another. And right now, what we're going to do for this part is we're going to put ourselves into different scenarios, if you will, and we're going to talk about how we would react in these different scenarios. And so this is for those that are just tuning in, this is Mark. He has a channel called the Montana Viking. Is that hat, by the way, is that your official channel logo?
I bought it online. I saw on Facebook. I'm like, oh, hey, let's buy that. So
That wouldn't be a bad logo for you though. That'd be pretty good.
uh,
But
yeah.
anyways, so there'll be information down low in the description about being able to subscribe to his channel and stuff. So be sure you do that. Check that out. We were making a video there too, talking about censorship and Christianity as well. But let's go through these scenarios right now. The first one we have, we talked about when is it right to take life or not to take life, or like what warrants taking life. The first one is if you, Mark, are driving by your home, you're packing, you got a gun in the car, and you see a white van, no windows, because those are always the most sketchiest vans, in your driveway, and you see these guys loading up all your possessions, your TVs, your couches, into the van. What will you do?
So you have like two choices there, right? So you can either like escalate it or de-escalate. You can just call 911 right away. Um, or you can say, hey, I'm going to handle this myself.
Mm.
And would I try to handle it myself and escalate it or de-escalate it and just call 911? Um, I don't know. I mean, I guess I could engage them and then put the ball in their court kind of thing, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you could confront them and then the decision kind of is their kind of thing. But you just don't go just shooting people and stuff. That you don't have the level of, what would you call it? The level to do that, the burden of proof to do that and everything.
So as you're
Danger.
you're you're talking about going out and engaging them, are you having your gun drawn?
No, I don't think I would.
Just kind of be like, hey, that's my stuff, get out of here, type of thing, verbal stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think for myself, again, okay, when we go through these scenarios, we understand that we do not know exactly how we're going to react in these scenarios because in those scenarios, you get all the adrenaline, you get all
Oh
these
yeah.
thoughts coming in. And so we're just kind of thinking maybe this is how we would react, or maybe thinking maybe this is how we would like to react in
Well,
those situations.
but like in general, are you pretty confrontational or do you fight or flight?
It depends on
What's
the
your
situation. Here's this. Okay.
just in life though, just in general, are you more
Oh,
like fight, we're going at it, or are you more, hey, we're just gonna run away?
I think
Just
I
in
kind of
general.
stand my ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think in this situation, we look at scripture. We talked about this in part one, though, that Exodus chapter 22, 2-3, when a thief breaks in at night versus when it breaks in during the day, that shows us that someone stealing your possessions does not warrant them losing their life. And so for me, thinking about that and thinking about, okay, if it comes to stealing stuff, I'm uh, hopefully they need it more than I do, type of thing. I can get new stuff for that. In that situation, I hope that I'd drive by, I'd try to collect information like the license plate, description of the individuals as I'm driving by and all that. And then I would be calling the cops, letting them know, and then letting them handle it from there, as what I hope I would do. And if I that means I lose stuff, to me, someone doesn't deserve to lose their life for my TV, type of thing. I can't justify that. So that's where I'm at
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Well, let's raise the stakes up though. Can we raise the stakes?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. We'll blow this thing to shreds. So you're at your house, right? And you
Whoa, that
see
was
that,
loud. I
yeah.
I this might be you might be jumping ahead here in scenarios because I got a bunch here.
No, this isn't jumping ahead.
Okay, go
Let's
ahead.
say you're not inside your house, okay?
Okay.
And you've got people and they've got gasoline and fire, whatever. They're gonna light your house on fire.
Okay.
And so what do you do in that scenario where, hey, your house could be up in flames, and if you don't do something about it, there goes your house up in flames.
I think
And does it change if there's people inside the house?
yes.
No one's inside the house?
Yes, it changes if there's people inside the house. I think if there's no one in the house, I examine to think if I can take the individuals that are trying to light the house on fire, and I would try to stop them from doing it, but I'd call the cops first. Maybe stop them from doing it. But again, I wouldn't use lethal force because even that I don't feel like warrants them losing their life. Now, if there are individuals that let's say are trapped and cannot get out of the house, I would use lethal force to stop those individuals from lighting the house on fire. Now, again, another thing, if there's individuals in there that aren't trapped and these people are lighting the house, I would like to think that I would go in and get those individuals out of the house, and then try to stop it or call the cops or something. But for me, in that scenario, those are the two things. If they're trapped inside the house, lethal force. If not, try to get them out of the house, try to get them safe, call the cops, try to stop
And
it.
that gets a little tricky because if you're in different states, the states will handle it different ways. Even Montana, North Dakota, if you're in your house, like that's your castle,
Yeah.
and if someone's
Yeah.
coming to cause harm to you in your castle, burn it down or whatever, they give you a lot more leniency there.
See, that's
Whereas
a
I suppose if you're in a different state, if you're in New York or California or something, good luck
yeah.
eh,
For
defending yourself there.
for me,
I'd be a lot more hesitant to over there at
yeah.
least. Yeah.
For me, I'm not necessarily I'm going from like a big biblical stance. Like, would I be able to justify this biblically? Because if you go into this type of situation, then you all of a sudden you have the situation that happens, you make your decision, but then that decision sticks with you for the rest of your life. And if you go back to it and you're thinking, man, I shouldn't have done that type of thing, you're gonna feel a lot of guilt about it for the rest of your life, type of thing. And so that's for me, that's why like I try to think about it beforehand. I mean, you cannot think of every single situation that you'll be in
Yeah.
because there's so many different scenarios and variables. But
Well, and you have to think of the consequences too,
yeah,
because if you know, do it in one way in one area, um, you have leniency to do it there. But then if you do it
yeah,
a different way in a different state, there could be whole different ramifications.
yeah,
And as a
yeah,
Christian, hey, do I have to obey those laws in that state? Does God want me to obey those laws and all that too? So
yeah. That's true. Yeah, yeah, that's true. The next one then here is you're packing. You have a gun with you. You're at your local grocery store and a gunman comes in and starts shooting the place up. What do you do?
you can use lethal force right away. Um, right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Yep, they're taking lives. You got to stop. I mean, there's evil intentions there. You got to stop those evil intentions. I would agree with that. Next one then is you're at a bank. Gunman comes in to rob the bank and he holds everybody at gunpoint, but has not shot a single shot. But he holds everybody at gunpoint. And then all of a sudden cops come and he starts using the hostage them as hostages, still not harming anybody though. And you're packing.
And you're
What do you do?
packing. You can take the guy's life. Yes. Yeah.
Really? Why do you
Yeah.
say
If
that?
he's holding people at hostage at gunpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you can hold them hostage. And then just being in Montana, I feel like the government would have my back on that
Yeah.
decision. Whereas if I'm in a different state, I might not make that decision, to be honest. But if when you're holding innocent people at gunpoint, you have at that moment you can uh, someone can take your life with deadly force is what I
Yeah.
would say. Yeah.
I see for me, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I don't know because I like this sounds bad, but it almost for me, thinking about it, they would almost have to use deadly force or do something to take someone's life before I take their life type of thing or harm somebody. You know what I mean? For me, that'd be the trigger. That'd be where I move ahead and like, okay, it's time to do something.
So you wouldn't do anything until after someone's hurt or
Yeah. And I know, and
dead?
that means like, well, then you risk them being hurt and stuff. But
Is that loving your neighbor? Is that, and if some biblically, if someone does that, what would be the ramifications for someone doing that?
Uh, like the person
For the
sticking
criminal
up the
doing
gun.
that.
I
Yeah,
I mean, I think Romans 13, the government would take care of it.
the government.
And
But
we're like,
what would a good response for the government to be? How should the government handle that?
well, I
If
think
the
what they,
government says you get 5 minutes in jail, that wouldn't be just. If the
yeah,
government says what's a just penalty for that?
prison. I don't know about how they, I mean, there's with every crime, there's always these different categories. Like, well, was it did the person have a weapon when they were holding up? That would add on time. Did they not have a weapon? That would take away time than what they should have. Did they hurt anybody or anything like this? And that adds to how much time they spend in prison. And so they have like these scales for those things. Maybe I'm not exactly understanding what you're asking, but
And well, that it gets into it too, though, because police officers, they have more they can do stuff that we can't do.
yeah.
And so a police officer in that situation, they've got training and they're better equipped to handle that kind of stuff than we
Mhm.
are. And a police officer trained in that situation, I think if they could take that person out, I think generally they would. Is that fair
Yeah.
to say? Or if they could take that person's life and save everyone or whatever,
Yeah.
would police officers take the shot there, do you think? Or are they just going to wait it out, or what are they going to do?
I don't know. I think we'd have to have a police officer on here because then one of the things too that we do is that we put movies to those situations. Like, okay, what will a police officer do in the movie? In the movie, of course, they'll take care of the subject, but we don't know. At least I don't know what is a procedure there for a police officer to do if they come in and there's this bank robber holding people at hostage. I don't know. I don't know what a police officer would do. Maybe you have verbal warnings. You will be shot if you don't put down your weapon or something like that. And then if they don't take it, or I don't know. I don't know. That's a question to ask a police officer, I guess. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. So, okay. Next one. You're driving down the road. You see a cop car with the lights on, doors open, pulled off the side, or not the side of the road, but on the road. And as you're passing that cop car on the other side, you see this cop by himself being overpowered by a man. The man's on top of him, or overpowered by somebody. And the person's on top of him beating the officer. What do? You're
You
packing.
use yeah, you don't resort to deadly force right away. It shouldn't be the first inclination. And yet, like you said, when you've got adrenaline just pumping through your system, that's when
Mm,
people make dumb decisions. A lot of the time, a lot of times when people are angry, they make dumb decisions or adrenaline. But you resort with, the least amount of resistance or force that you can,
yeah.
to save the officer's life and stop that from happening.
Okay. So why is that? Because the individual it's gonna be harder for them to take the life of the officer since he doesn't have a weapon. Instead his weapons are his fists, I guess you're saying. Is that compared to like the bank scenario where he has a gun and has that option to, or
Well,
can must easily take someone's life?
yeah, well, and you have to see what's happening too, though, because if the cop's unconscious, he's got his weapon on him, and the guy could
That's
drop
true.
that weapon just like that. But when tasers came out, that stopped a lot of injuries. It stopped a lot of bad things from happening to police officers, really, and
Yeah.
they didn't have to resort to deadly force right away because, well, now we can tase, resort to that as a first, resort
Mhm.
with less deadly force and everything. And so if we can use less deadly force, then I think that's a win-win.
Okay.
Because we as Christians, we don't want to take anyone's life, really.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. But yeah,
Okay. And we're gonna jump into that specifically here. The one after this coming one. Okay. This coming scenario. This scenario, you're at a restaurant, someone comes in and you're sitting down. They boom, take the life of someone, and that was like they just wanted revenge or something, so they only wanted to take that person's life, and they're running out of the store. You're packing, or they're running out of the restaurant, and you're packing. What do you do?
call the police. I mean, do I believe in like vigilante justice where I can just go take
Yeah.
justice into my own hands and appoint myself as a police officer and all that? No. Um, if I wanted to follow them, make sure they're not going to hurt anyone else or something, I guess that'd be loving your neighbor. But I'm just calling the police in that
Yeah,
situation and going from there.
I am as well. And a lot of laws actually in a bunch of states, if the criminal is fleeing, you're not allowed to pursue, or you're not allowed to harm them or chase them down if they are fleeing the scene. Like so okay, someone comes in, they shoot someone, and like later the detectives or the cops find out that they were shot in the back. The question they're going to ask you is why, how did you get behind him, or why? They'll ask you if he was retreating, because if someone is retreating in a lot of states, you're not allowed to uh, take him out. And I think for me, I'd agree with you that I'd call the cops and go from, maybe follow them. And if they start doing this mass shooting here, then look at lethal force, but call the cops, I think.